Okay, welcome to the Expert Academy live streams and for our last episode of this holiday readiness week. My name is Alex, I'm an account manager here at Google working for the Swedish market, and I'll be your co-host for today's session. Alright, so in this final episode we're going to talk a bit about how you can grow your business with shopping, and we'll particularly focus then on how to prepare for the upcoming holiday season. If you didn't have the chance to watch any of our previous episodes, you can always go back and watch these recordings here on the platform. So with me today I have Moritz, who conveniently happens to be a shopping specialist.
Surprise.
Moritz, great to have you here. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
How are you feeling?
I'm very good.
Great.
It's Friday, so...
All good then. Are you having a bit of Christmas feeling already, or?
Oh yeah, we've been talking about Christmas for the last 3 months in our team, so I'm actually surprised that we don't have a Christmas tree at home yet. So.
Great. So Moritz, you're a shopping specialist, and do you mind just giving a brief introduction of what that job actually entails?
Absolutely, yeah. So as you said, I'm a shopping specialist here in Dublin. I'm working with all the major clients of us in the Central Europe area. So I have a lot of engagements with bigger clients already, and since I joined Google 2 years ago, I've been working with shopping ads for 7 years now.
7 years?
Yeah, I started early. After university, I joined an agency, and I actually know that shopping used to be for free. There has been a lot of change since then, but yeah, that's how it goes.
Great. So I think I found the right person to join me in the sofa.
I certainly hope so, yeah.
Okay, guys, so although the session is actually recorded, our specialists are here to answer any questions you have on this topic in real time. So please feel free to use the chat function just below the video here to post any questions you might have. But if you're watching this outside of the live stream hour, we would advise you to instead take those questions to your Google representative. Alright, so I think that's all practical information from my side. I'll now hand it over to you, Moritz, to take us through shopping.
Thank you. Alright, so I wanted to start to give you a little introduction and ease into the topic by showing you what actually is happening with shopping ads over the last 3 years. And as you can see on this chart, the queries that we are able to identify as having a certain intention, the intention of making a purchase, it's increasing steadily over the last 3 years. And what's especially interesting here on this slide is that the peaks that we see around Christmas are just extremely big, and it's actually what you can't, or it's a bit hard to see on that slide, is that the Christmas or the peak season is actually moving earlier and earlier every year. So people are looking for Christmas presents early on, and they might start looking even in October already. So it's very important to start early with all your shopping efforts as well, and makes it even more important to plan and have the right setup in place when we are approaching the peak season. So what actually is important when we approach the peak season? So first thing is that you have all your hygiene tasks in line. So look in your Merchant Center accounts, look for disapproved items. If they are disapproved, try to find a solution for that. We have a certain benchmark that like 10% of disapprovals are okay. If it's less, it's even better. But really make sure that your products are active in your accounts and that you're able to advertise with them.
I would really say here, vouch for using our support team as well, that are great. And if you're unsure of why the products are actually disapproved, feel free to contact the support team, and they'll be happy to help you.
Absolutely, yeah. It's the foundation for shopping ads. So this is kind of like the top priority that you have to have in order to be successful in the peak season. If we have all the products online and they're all active, this is just half of the equation, so we still need to have them really displayed in the search. So what we try to show you here on this chart is that we often see that although the products in the Merchant Center are online, not all of the products are actually with a bid in Google Ads. So you might want to have a look into your campaigns, and what we usually recommend here is that you set up something like a catch-all campaign. And ironically, it's very uncommon that you hear someone from Google that you are supposed to set up a campaign that has the purpose of not generating traffic. But this is exactly what I'm asking you for, because if you generate traffic in a particular campaign, that means that one of your products or even more of your products are not sorted into the right performance campaigns when it comes to shopping. So this is as well an indicator or a warning system for you that some products are not ordered into the right campaigns. And what I especially want to emphasize here is that if you don't have that in place right now, the shopping high score, for example, is a good solution to keep track of that. So you might want to have a look at your reports here. If you have questions towards your report, all the Google affiliates here are very well educated on that piece, so feel free to reach out to them as well. So when we have that in order as well, so like the foundation is set, and I know that export in some areas is very, very important as well. So what we've been doing here at Google is we try to make it easier for you to export to other countries. And I know that sometimes it's getting tricky to get the data feed in the right language. And this is why we came up with a solution that you're now able to use your English feeds and spread them all over the world, basically. So kind of like this is a non-exhaustive list here that you see, but if you are already online with search, for example, in one of those countries, and you're not leveraging the shopping ads in this country, you might want to use that as well.
And what I think could be interesting here to see, now it's listed under the beta countries, but we see Finland there that has been under a beta for some while now. But great news that last week it was actually fully launched, so it's now rolling on 100% of the traffic, which
absolutely
is not only interesting for advertisers in Finland, but many of those advertisers in Northern Europe that actually are exporting to Finland. So great to get that set up in time for the holiday season.
Absolutely, yeah, and I can only encourage everyone that is already active in Finland with other marketing channels, now use shopping ads to even sell more in these countries.
Cool.
So, but now we really getting to what I wanted to present and what I wanted to talk about with each of every one of you. We have kind of came up with 3 topics that are very dear to our heart and that will help you during the peak season, and they will certainly make it easier for you to find your targets and hit your targets by creating more reach, which will basically in peak season we always see, like I showed before, that we have a lot of query growth during the time. But reach is not everything. We know that retail especially is looking for sales and is looking for that extra revenue that comes in during the peak season. So we will have a look at how we can seamlessly connect our users from online to offline until they finally buy something in your stores. And in the end, we know that shopping might be a bit complex. So in order to make it simpler for you, we will talk a little bit of automation at the end, just to make it easier and just to know that you have the resources that you can leverage, and it makes you more efficient in the end as well. So going on for the first topic of the 3 topics that we have here, so reach. And I know that it's not online in all of our countries that we have that are actually watching this episode now. But since we're talking of export as well, this might be relevant for you. But just to have the story here, we have conducted some surveys in Europe about where people get inspired when it comes to finding Christmas presents. And what we found out is, not particularly surprising if Google put something on a slide, that the internet is the place to be for people when they look for Christmas presents or getting inspired. The second category here is that people go to physical stores and they look for Christmas presents in physical stores. So it's even more important during the peak season to make the connection between online and offline. And going back to the internet category here that we see, we know that the internet is huge. So if someone tells you that he or she is getting inspired by the internet when it comes to Christmas presents, it's kind of hard to tell them where to find Christmas presents. So we conducted another survey, and what we found out was that people mostly get inspired by pictures. I mean, that's relatable. I do as well. What made us or brought us to the conclusion that it's even more critical that we enable shopping ads on the Google image search. So for now, you can use your shopping ads, your standard shopping ads, or showcase ads as well, what I will touch later on. But you might want to use these or track these and see that you will get that extra reach, and especially important during the peak season.
So this with the shopping ads on the image search, is that something you have to opt in for or something you have to whitelist for? How does that work?
Very good question. Sorry. Very good question. It used to be an opt-in solution, so it was a feature that you actively had to opt in for. But since these sources of traffic are so important, we decided to move it to the search component of shopping. So this is nothing you have to opt in for anymore. It's automatically opted in, and you, as soon as you have shopping ads in place, you will be shown on the image search.
Okay.
Yeah, and since images are so important here, we have another format that is in place, which is especially made for people that are looking to getting inspired, or they just they are not really sure what they want to buy. So their queries that they are mostly very generic. So you might want to look for a TV, like in this a particular example, or you're looking for shoes because you don't know which brand you want to buy, you don't know the model you want to buy. But this is something that is very important because we've been long. It's a long time since we came up with this product, but it evolved over the time a lot. So we've been better and better to identify queries that have a shopping intent behind it, but are very generic as well. So we are very good in identifying those queries, and we're displaying showcase ads here as well. So what the number you see on that slide relates to the number of queries, or the percentage of queries of traffic of shopping that have a shopping intent behind it, but they are actually eligible to surface a showcase ad. So that means both ways. It's good to have them in place if you're exporting, for example, or you have it in your own country, because this percentage, and that's the downside of it, if you're not showing showcase ads, or you don't have showcase ads in place, these percentage or these queries will not end up in your shop. So you're losing traffic here, and this, of course, as we all know, is something where new customers and new conversions are coming from. So if you're advertised in a country that has showcase ads in place, I would highly recommend to make use of those.
So in Northern Europe, I believe that showcase ads is currently available in Netherlands and Sweden.
Exactly. Yeah.
Not the other countries, but of course, if you export to these countries or many of the other countries where we do have showcase ads, it's still relevant. It used to be in beta, but it's now open to everyone, right?
Exactly. Yeah, you don't need to get a whitelisting for it anymore. It's completely launched, and you can just fire away if you are interested in testing showcase ads right now.
Nice.
Yeah, and here's again what we learned from last year's peak season. So if you have a look at this chart, we see that the Black Friday is a crucial day in Europe. So it's swept over from the US, and it's getting more and more important in Europe as well. And as you can see on this chart, engagement rates, and this is actually what showcase ads are aiming for mostly, are peaking during this season. And it's actually Black Friday is one of the crucial days here. As you can see, in November and even in December, it's the same level of engagement rates that we see in this particular time.
Interesting on what you mentioned before as well, that is building up, and Christmas and preparation for Christmas is starting earlier and earlier, because we see the trend going upwards from already September, October.
Exactly, and that's exactly relating to what you said, like to the slide that I showed before. And since showcase ads is a format that tries to get you new customers, it opens up the funnel way earlier than standard shopping ads. So it's even in this slide, you can see that this format is working for the upper funnel queries, and is trying to get new customers into your shop and then trying to convert them in the end.
Okay, so would it be more of an upper funnel product? What kind of performance would you expect from showcase ads if you compare it to the normal shopping ads, so to say?
Yeah, so that's a very good question, because these questions we have all the time when we launch a new product. And what you can see, well, if you ask that question, you obviously start a conversation about attribution as well, since it's an upper funnel format, and you need to give credit to the format, right? So we usually recommend to have data-driven attribution behind it. So you actually give credit to the format compared to standard shopping ads, for example. And I have clients in Germany, for example, that have all these attribution checkboxes checked already. And I was actually, to be honest, surprised myself when they told me that showcase ads start to work even better than standard shopping ads, which is kind of tremendous when it gets to success. So definitely, if I would always test it. And what I brought to you now, so you have kind of like threshold on in which category how many queries you can expect at the moment. We have this list here where you can roughly see that we are very, very well in identifying those kind of queries in apparel and accessories. So 30 to 35% of mobile queries already trigger showcase ad in these apparel and accessory category. So this means that even though you have standard shopping ads, you really need to set up your showcase ads if you want to get that extra traffic and that extra conversions in.
A lot of incremental traffic to gain here.
Absolutely, yeah. And since we have this format already in place in some other countries, we already have learning. So if you want to start, you don't need to start from scratch like all the other countries, for example, did already. We have some best practices already that you might want to use when you set up your campaigns. So, for example, we have found out that it's better to have more ads actually in place when it comes to showcase ads. So we say roughly 50 unique ads would be a good threshold if you set up a showcase ad campaign. Really focus on those new customers and try to get them into your funnel early, make them aware of your brand. You have, when they expand their ad, they have an brand experience there already, since we show pictures, mood pictures, and the brand logo already. So really make use of that format and try to be very creative, and there will be a creative excellence part of it. Just bear in mind that this is something where you have to put some work in, but we try to make it easier and simpler for you already. And then, as I said before, showcase ads are something that need to get credit, so we do recommend to have a data-driven attribution behind it. And you can always, if you have the format in place, you will collect the tagless remarketing list that you might want to use when you have standard shopping campaigns or search campaigns that you can opt in for.
What's the tagless remarketing list?
Very good question. That is a list, because you have to imagine that this format, the user clicks on it and it will expand. So you have kind of like a Google hosted landing page there, where all the different products are in there as well. So the user can browse through your products in the ad already. This means that he has now 3 options. He can click on one of the products, or he can click on the category links. This would mean that the user jumps onto your website and will get tagged by one of your remarketing lists.
Okay.
But the third option is that the user is browsing through your products and is then not clicking out. So that means that you would actually lose that user, because you can't tag the user with one of your remarketing lists. But what we do as Google is that if the user is browsing through your products for more than 10 seconds, we automatically tag them for you and make this data available for you to use. So this is kind of like in another upper funnel list that you can use for your optimization in your accounts.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. And as best practice, or this is an example on how a very good setup or well set up showcase that would look like. So and especially how it works is displayed here as well. So you have the ad, the user would click on the ad, it's getting expanded, or like we say sometimes it's collapsed. So you have 2 options right now. So the user can click on the header image, because this is something that is new actually. We saw that users used to click on the header image, and we didn't link the header image back then when we started the format. But we saw that users click on the image and expect to be directed to the landing page. So you have a 2-tab experience here now. So and this directs you to the category landing page. Ideally, it resembles the products that you're advertising for in the showcase ad. So and this is what I touched before with the creative excellence. There will be something like that where we can determine kind of like a quality score as well.
Okay.
And this is just, again, to elaborate on what I said earlier with the 50 unique ads that we have. We usually recommend to have only one showcase ad campaign with all the different ad groups in there for your different categories. And then you can split up or differentiate the categories even more with your ads. What you see on that slide as well is that we recommend a catch-all ad group. It's kind of like the catch-all campaign that I mentioned earlier, where you put in all your products without getting clicks. And this is kind of like the same procedure here. You put in all your products in a catch-all ad group, and you create a very generic creative for your showcase ad. And then you know that some products of you are getting traffic already, and then you can split out the category that gets traffic in your catch-all campaign and can split it up to another ad group, for example, and build a unique ad for that particular category as well. And of course, since we have some learnings from other countries like Germany, for example, we have some success cases here as well. So Otto, for example, we tested to create even more than 200 unique ads there, and we learned that it works really well. So I can highly recommend to try to get as unique ads in there as you can do. And we see that 12% more engagement rates, because that, as I said, that is the KPI that we are aiming for. We got 14% new customers, which is amazing, especially when you aim for revenue growth in your business. And we see that 35% of the mobile shopping clicks come from showcase ads already. So that is really astonishing, because that are all incremental clicks that they didn't get before, right? So
wow.
That is just, and it had a huge impact on their business.
Really exciting that showcase ads is coming to Northern Europe.
Yeah, definitely. That is about it for the reach part. So now we're going to talk a little bit about how to increase sales, because we all have goals and objectives that we need to fulfill. And how we're going to do that is how can we, or the question to ask here is how we can work seamlessly between online and offline. And brought some statistics here. So as we all know, site speed is one of the key measurements when it comes to user experience. So 35% of the people that we used to survey back then, that study is in 2016. We have another study coming up now. But back then, 53% of the servants we asked said that they don't want to wait longer than 3 seconds for a mobile site to load. This in the new survey, and I can give a slight peek or sneak peek into that. The percentage is almost about the same, but the 3 seconds was drilled down tremendously. So they are not getting more patient, our users, so they expect to load or having the mobile site loading within a second.
Wow.
So this is something that we need to be aware of, and it highlights the importance of loading speed, especially for mobile sites as well.
I think everyone knows the importance of mobile speed for themselves when I feel it, at least when I'm doing my shopping. So really think and see if we can, or if you can take the time to optimize towards this and make necessary adjustments to the website just to speed up, because we see that it has a significant impact on performance.
Absolutely, yeah. And to build the bridge here to the offline world that we have some surveys online that you might want to have a look at, but here are the key figures that are particularly interesting in my opinion. So when you look to stores and to how the users behave when it comes to engaging with the offline world, we found that 3 out of 4 people are looking for a store on their smartphones, and they go to a store within 24 hours, which is amazing. So they have the local intent already, and they will directly go. It's good to see that users are actually searching with a purpose, right? And what actually is even more important here, and this is kind of like building a bridge again to shopping, because 46% of users, they have determined that they want to have a product, and now they're looking into where to get it. And if they want to get it right away, they don't want to wait for shipping, they check online if the product is in store. So they check for the local availability, and there's almost half of the users that have a local query in place, which is tremendous and highlights the importance. And as it happens to be, we have a solution that we worked on for you, and this is the local inventory ads. And here is just shortly how it works and how it looks like. It's a format that displays the availability, the local availability, and the local price even. So it doesn't matter if you have several stores and you have different prices in each store. It will show the right price and the right availability as long as you upload the data to our merchant centers.
And here we should say also that local inventory ads is still in a beta phase, so you have to reach out to your Google representative if you want to be whitelisted for this product. And I believe it's available in Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and the Netherlands currently.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay,
right.
Yeah. So if you have physical stores, I think this is a no-brainer to jump on. So reach out to your Google representative, and they will be happy to get you onto this product.
Absolutely. And as you can see in this example, you have two ways to direct the user either to your store or to your website even. So this is what you can see on this slide. You can see that the user is sent to a Google hosted local storefront, as we call it. And on this website, basically hosted by Google, you can see the product, you can get familiar with the product even more, you see the availability, but most importantly, you can get directed to the store directly. You can call the store if you have the phone number in there as well, or you can send the user to your website again to if he decides to buy it online and get it shipped instead of actually visiting the store. What you can do as well is that we're not showing only the product that he clicked on, but we show him or her similar products in there as well, so they can browse the products that are actually locally available in that particular store if they want to get inspired a little bit more and see what else could be in store and what else they could find in the physical store. But this is not all. We have, of course, another version, and that's the second option that we offer for you to direct your users straight to your website. So you see that you still benefit from the annotation that says that it's available in a store, but instead of having that extra click for the user, you're sending them directly to your website. And that means that the user already gets that brand experience that you created on your website, and he dives into your world already. So as you can see here, you're the owner of the brand user experience. You benefit from the annotation there, and as the user already is on your website, it's completely up to the user if he wants to buy online. So maybe he feels a bit lazy and just don't want to get out of the house, or it's raining, you don't know. But he has the option as well to go to your store, because on your website, the only thing that you need is that the user needs to be able to check for the availability in a certain store. And that's all. So if you have that in place, I would talk to your Google representative and ask about that feature, because it's mind-blowing what it can do for your conversion rates as well. And of course, since Google is not involved in the landing pages anymore, it's even easier to get a customized tracking and reporting there as well, which we all know is very important if you have to report to upper management, for example. And why is that so important within the peak season? Well, of course, the post offices in the world, there will be a time that they get swamped with packages. So usually the last week before Christmas is the week where if you order something online, it will not get to you in time for the holidays. So the queries that we see, particularly in the last week before Christmas, are going through the roof when it comes to local queries. So the queries with where to buy that sweater, for example.
These are expensive as well.
Yeah. So they go through the roof, and it shows everyone the the importance of local, and this is why we preach this online to offline solutions that we have, because we see that especially when we look at Christmas, it's so important for your businesses, and it gives you that extra incremental conversions as well. If it's in store or online, both ways will work for you. So this is it about formats, and now we created a lot of more complexity, I would say, since we have so much more formats that will help you with your business. But how can we make this simpler for you? And since we talk about attribution and we talk about touch points, we know that this is very complex, and sometimes it gets confusing as well. I'm guilty myself that I'm confusing sometimes the different touch points that we have, but this is something that we have solved already for you. So our smart bidding solutions will help you to navigate that complexity. And what I brought with me today is just I want to focus on what is particularly important when you use smart bidding solutions for shopping. So we need to be mindful of shopping having just the 3 bidding solutions right now, which comes with maximize clicks, which is perfect if you're just looking to get traffic on your website, or you just started with shopping, for example. You need that traffic coming in, and this gives you a lot of visibility within the shopping ads solution. If you already have the data and you are looking for efficiency and you have certain business objectives, the solutions that we have that look for that ROAS goal, the return on ad spend, our target ROAS and our smart shopping campaigns. So these are the 2 solutions that we have in place for shopping. And I'm very aware of the fact that we talked a lot about automation in the last couple of months, and I'm sure you all are aware of the millions of signals that we use in our smart bidding solutions. But I just want to stress a little bit more that it's not possible anymore to navigate through all the different signals that we have. So, and most of them, or the most valuable signals that we have, are exclusive and are taken into account by target ROAS or smart shopping campaigns. What is particular for shopping here is that, and this is something that not many people know, but this is something that is very clear actually if you think about it. We have the data feed in shopping, right? And in your data feed you have your price. And we use this information to feed it to target ROAS as well. So the target ROAS is even better, or has even richer information to make your goal. And so that does not necessarily mean that it will only push for high-priced products, but it needs that information, or it uses that information to even get your products out better and place the right product in the right moment for the right user. So that is something that you need to be aware of when we talk about smart bidding solutions for shopping.
Just a question on that. So to use target ROAS, are there any minimum requirements in terms of conversion volume or traffic?
Yeah, so ideally you have, we say 50 conversions in your account, because target ROAS learns across account. And it really it depends on what volume you have, basically. So I would say if you have 30 conversions within a campaign, that should be enough for the target ROAS to be able to optimize. But as it is with every statistical method that you're using, the more data you have, the more precise your output will be. So it always makes sense, and this is something that we do often when we start just completely new with shopping, for example, with a client of ours. We start with maximize clicks, and then we wait till we get the volume up to speed, and then we switch to target ROAS. So that would make sense. But very good question here. So what you need to bear in mind when you use target ROAS, or you might want to use target ROAS for the peak season. So a lot of my customers, and that was something that was justified by then, said or asked me if they should switch off target ROAS because it doesn't account for the peaks or the increased queries that we get into during the holidays. But this is something that is actually, you don't need to think about that anymore, because the regular seasonalities that we have during the year, they are taken in account for target ROAS. So Christmas, it is every year, right? Black Friday is every year. So we learned for the last years that query growth is tremendous during these times, and this is something that you don't need to be worried about anymore. So during the peak season, I would highly recommend to stay on smart bidding if it is target ROAS or smart shopping campaigns. Both work fine with the increased queries, and the only thing that you need to be aware of is that you need to know what your competition is doing as well. So if, for example, your competition decides to have or be a little bit more aggressive with their bidding, or they use a slightly lower target ROAS than they have during or throughout the rest of the year, that means that the auction pressure will get more and more. So please monitor your campaigns during the season and make slight adjustments throughout the year, throughout the peak season for your target ROAS. And most importantly, have an eye on your budgets, because if they run out, target ROAS is not very good in optimizing anymore, because you take the power from it to actually set the bid that is estimated for that particular query. And lastly, if you're not on smart bidding yet, it's not too late to test it yet, but it should be very soon now. So if you want to test it, start testing it now, so you have the learnings for the actual peak season already, and you know how it handles your performance and how it works with your key objectives here. So because we talked a lot about smart bidding now, and I'm not sure if everyone is aware of it, but it's the perfect product to make everything simpler within shopping. So it was when we came up with the idea of building a smart shopping campaign as a product, we had in mind that it needs to be simple to set it up. So you can set it. The goal was to set up the campaign within a few clicks, and this is something that we managed to do. So it's very easy to manage the campaign and to set up the campaign. And in addition to that, we thought that it has to have an extra nudge, right? So you can actually benefit from even more reach, since we have new sources of traffic for smart shopping campaigns, and we have a little bit of remarketing and prospecting there as well. And of course, it has, if you're not setting the optional target ROAS that you can set for smart shopping campaigns, it will just maximize your conversion value. So this is the equivalent of making more money for your average ROAS goal or ROAS that you have currently in your campaign, and then it will automatically maximize your conversion value to the given budget.
Cool. And so smart shopping, would that be available in all Northern European languages? Or?
Exactly, yeah. It's wherever shopping is launched, smart shopping campaigns are launched as well. Without whitelisting, they're fully launched, and you can jump in right away.
Cool.
And here's a little overview on how it actually looks. So What you can see here is that we have the normal sources for traffic like search and the display network. And whoever saw that slide earlier this year might notice that there has been a very little adjustment on that slide, because YouTube used to be US only inventory, and I think it's a month ago now that we enabled YouTube search for shopping now as well. So if you opt in for YouTube and discovery in your campaigns right now, doesn't matter if it's standard shopping or smart shopping, you will be surfaced on YouTube in the search part as well now. Gmail, however, is still only in the US available. So here we are already at the very end of the slide deck. So as you can see, we put together a little agenda for you, or a little timeline that you might want to use when you plan for the holiday season. So we didn't want to do a usual checklist, but this is something you can use if you go through all the tasks you might want to do for preparation. So
and I just want to jump in and to say that we will send the slides, or the slides will be available on the platform later, so you will be able to get this overview as well.
Yeah, of course, exactly. So when you start your planning now, and we are already in the pre-holiday season, so if you plan to set up showcase ads, for example, or you plan to use target ROAS or smart shopping campaigns, make sure you do it now. And as I said before, that was the very beginning of the presentation, get the hygiene in order. So make sure all your products are actually active in your merchant center and you're advertising them, and check your high score that everything is in place and you're well prepared for the holiday season. So when we go through the holiday season here, we see that it starts with Singles Day, which is very popular in China, but when it gets to Black Friday, it's most relevant for most of the European countries already. So it might, and that's what I said when we talked about smart shopping, it might make sense to readjust your goals for the target ROAS or the smart shopping campaign, just to benefit the most from the increased query volume that we get during the peak season, and make sure that you actually hit your goals here. Going back to showcase ads, when it gets actually interesting for Christmas, so we are in the early beginning of December, or like Cyber Monday is coming up, it makes sense for some advertisers that they readjust their showcase ads if they have them in place already. Kind of like try to do creatives or create pictures where you kind of cover the Christmas atmosphere. So maybe if you're advertising for boots and you have creatives that show boots in the summertime, someone is wearing them walking on the beach, for example, try to readjust that, and maybe instead of walking through the sand on the beach, they might want to walk through the snow on a busy street or something like that, just to get that extra spirit of the holiday season in there. And for local inventory ads, because that is most relevant right before Christmas, make sure that you cover that last minute shoppers. I'm guilty of that myself, actually. I'm always running through stores in the last week before Christmas, so make sure you catch me when you're advertising on shopping ads. With local inventory ads, make sure you have the right budget in place there as well. And lastly, last but not least, the post-holiday season, where everyone that got coupons, vouchers, or even cash for Christmas is trying to find a way to spend that money. Make sure that you keep the lights on here and have a sufficient budget in place for the post-holiday sales that might come in for your business there as well.
And I know, working for the Swedish market, that what we call mellandagsrea, which is the post-holiday offers, is huge in Sweden. So I'm sure it's as big in the other markets as well.
Yeah. So it's even more important to be online or stay online, since I have some of my advertisers that used to shut down all their campaigns right after Christmas because they thought, oh yeah, there's nothing happening right there, which was a huge mistake, by the way. Yeah, that's it from my side. So
Great.
Glad to hand it over back to you.
Thanks a lot, Moritz. Even I learned quite a lot from this presentation, actually, and I'm really excited to hear about the likes of showcase ads and local inventory ads are also now coming to Northern Europe, and some great action points to take forward. So
Glad you liked
huge thanks, Moritz. And you guys in the audience, please also share your thoughts on this session by using the feedback form on your right hand side here of the video. That would be much appreciated. So we'll now move on then to some frequently asked questions. And remember, if you're watching this on the live stream hour, you can still submit your questions here below in the chat function, and we will have Moritz replying to them as good as he can. Alright, so moving on to just some frequently asked questions that we usually get on this topic. If we start with the first one here being, where can I check if I'm targeting all my products in the merchant center with a bid? Because you mentioned that in the beginning and how important that was.
Yeah, exactly. So that's a very good question. We don't have a report or something like that you can use. So I can't stress enough how important the catch-all campaigns are. So just set up your catch-all campaign. Make sure that it has a low priority and low bids. So you don't want to interfere with your performance campaigns. But as soon as you see traffic in that campaign, it's an indicator for you not targeting all your products in the performance campaigns. So this is very important, and since we don't have a reporting for that yet, just try to use the catch-all campaigns as good as possible.
Great. All right, another question that is usually asked as well is, could there then be a cannibalization effect if we, with standard shopping traffic, when using showcase ads? Like, can they cannibalize from each other?
Yeah, very valid question, and the answer is simply no, because the standard shopping ads are meant to be for lower funnel queries. So the user already has a certain image in mind when it comes to a product that he or she wants to buy. So showcase ads really aim for that upper funnel queries that we usually don't target with standard shopping ads. There might be the case where you see standard shopping ads for one query, and then you see showcase ads for one query for the same query. This is mainly up to the history of the user. So if we identify you being more upper funnel, you're more likely, if you look for shoes, you're more likely to see a showcase ad.
Yeah.
If you are more lower funnel already, because you look for some specific shoes, you might see a standard shopping campaign, but there's no cannibalization there.
Okay, great to hear. And you talked a bit about the merchant hosted local storefront as when you were building on the local inventory ads. So how do I know whether my website is eligible for that?
Yeah, so the first things you want to check is actually if your product detail pages have the option to look for a store, or you have kind of like a store locator on that website, and the user is able to see the local availability and the local price on that website. That is an indicator that you might be eligible for the merchant hosted local storefront. But I would highly encourage every one of you to reach out to your Google representative, because we can initiate a deeper screening of your website with our teams, and then you get a dedicated report of what you already fulfill as a criteria, or maybe there needs to be a little nudge on the website so you're actually eligible to do it.
And a question also, if you use TROAS for a campaign, how do you go about changing that target ROAS goal that you mentioned is quite important during like Black Friday if you want to drive even more sales?
Yeah.
But just to avoid going back into that learning mode.
Yeah, very valid question. So I usually, and this this comparison is a little bit, well, I made it up, but it highlights how the target ROAS does work actually. So I usually compare it to someone that trains for a marathon. So if you run 5 kilometers, you know how your body feels after 5 kilometers. If you run 10 kilometers, you know how you feel after that. So you might...
I wouldn't feel anything after that.
Yeah, for me it's the same mostly. But you know, if I would ask you now, how did you feel when you ran 7 kilometers, you could answer that question, right? If I ask you, how would you feel when you run 20 kilometers and you never ran 20 kilometers, you couldn't answer that question. And the same way is it for the target ROAS. So if he has conversions that fulfilled the target ROAS goal that is slightly below the target ROAS goal that you set, it's easy to adjust the target ROAS goal to the lower. If you, however, decide to have more efficiency and you want to put the target ROAS goal up a little, this might be something where the target ROAS needs to learn more, but then usually I would recommend to do it in smaller steps. So the target ROAS can actually use the conversions that got the lower ROAS goal, but then he would ease up to the performance or to the higher performance that he needs to get for you. But actually it's a myth that the learning period is something where target ROAS is not working. So target ROAS is working all the time, but the learning phase indicates that he needs some more conversions to have the significant level of efficiency here.
Okay, cool. I like that comparison.
Good.
Last question. Do I need to opt in if I want to be shown on YouTube search here for the shopping ads?
Yeah. Very good question, because that is brand new. And right now, if you go to your campaign settings, you see a little checkbox where it says opt in for YouTube and Discovery. So in Europe, Discovery is not launched yet, but YouTube, as we learned, is launched. So if you check that box, your shopping ads will display on the YouTube search, and it will display in your reportings under the GDN part there as well.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah, so I believe that was the last question, and we're gonna stick around for another 15 minutes here. So please, so you can still continue submitting questions in the chat here below the video. Other than that, remember we have had 5 episodes, so if you didn't have the chance to watch the previous ones, you can still go to our platform and watch the recordings of those. Other than that, a huge thanks to you, Moritz, for joining us today, and huge thanks to everyone in the audience who's joined us for this live stream series. Other than that, I think we just want to wish you a great weekend and maybe even a Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.